Hey everybody, it's Mr. Addy. Tonight is the big night for our first annual Worthington Backyard Camp Out. I've already heard from a lot of community members that are going to take place and have a campfire tonight, are going to do a tent in the backyard. So I thought I'd do a quick video real fast on campfire, give you some tips, talk about safety, since it sounds like a lot of people are going to go out tonight with the good weather and have a campfire. First, safety. Make sure you're doing this under adult supervision. This is not something you should try on your own, but parents, this could be a great activity to do as a family this evening. You want to make sure your fire pit is away from your house, away from, if you set up your tent, you don't want it real close to your tent. If you were to get an ember that comes up, it could burn a hole in your tent. It's always smart to keep a bucket of water close by. So if things get out of control, you can put it out, or at the end of the evening, make sure the fire is completely out with the bucket of water. And then finally, you should never leave a fire unattended. So it would not be good for me to start my fire and then walk away, because something could happen while I'm gone. So let's get into it. There's really three things you need, 3 or 4 things to start a fire. So I'm going to walk you through some of the stuff. The first thing you need to start a fire is what's called tinder. Tinder is anything that's like light and fluffy that's going to light real quick. So we have like some newspaper, some leaves we've picked up from the yard. This is actually dryer lint, which I'm going to show you at the end of the video, is a good way to start a fire if you don't have these other things. PSA, that's why it's important to keep your dryer vent clear, because this stuff is highly flammable. Then over here, so we have our tinder, then we have our kindling, which can be small sticks, scrap wood, or little tiny logs. These are not big logs. You want to start small. I always say start small to build a big fire. If I were to light up, let's say some newspaper and just put a log on top of it, I'm not going to have a very good fire. So start with your tinder, then your kindling, and then you can start putting your logs on your fire. So I was out the other day, I noticed that both Kroger and a lot of the gas stations have bunks of wood. So if you don't have any, you can maybe pick some up, and then hopefully you can find some of this other stuff around the house. I've got a fire poker and some gloves, which are a good idea as well. So here's my go-to method. There's 2 styles of, that I've used building a campfire. One is what we call the TP method, where you make like a TP. The other is what I've kind of set up off to the side here. They call this the log cabin method. So my go-to, if I'm at home and I'm going to build a fire that I want to really get rip-roaring, whether it's in the house or outside, is I'm going to start with my newspaper, and I'm going to crumble them up, put them on the bottom, and then I like these things. They're little fire starter logs. I'll break them up, put those on top of the newspaper, and then I'll start building my TP with my kindling. So the important part here is you want airflow. You cannot have a good fire unless you have airflow. So you want to have ways for air to get around and in. And as I light this and this catches fire, I will then continue to add and start stepping up to bigger. Okay. Now maybe you don't have these items, and obviously you're going to need either matches or a type of lighter. Now, I'm going to show you another method here with flint. This is more if you're hiking or camping in the backwoods and you don't have all this stuff. You could pack up your dryer lint. Here is a toilet paper roll. Some people will stick their dryer lint down in the toilet paper roll. So we're going to try to start one maybe with this stuff that is different than stuff people might have around the house. So, all right, so we're going to start with our dryer lint. You're going to probably come up closer. I'm going to try to just break this up. And then I've got some leaves and some small twigs back here to kind of get it going. We'll see how this goes. Set these off to the side. Put some of these in here. We'll see if we can get this going. And then you'll just start building on top of it. Start laying your twigs and your leaves carefully. Just kind of get it going this way. Still kind of can do this TP method and blow on it as you go. And then as it gets roaring, you'll want to step up to your bigger stuff. Okay. All right, so we got our fire going, and then once we got it going, we kind of thought we'd really hate to waste a good fire. And one of our favorite things is campfire breakfast. So we went ahead and put our fire pit grate over, and we're just gonna go ahead and cook some breakfast.
Morning, everyone. I'm Mrs. Addy, and as Mr. Addy talked about, we really like to do campfire breakfast, so that's what we're doing here this morning. Just going to go through a couple quick tips for you. One of the things you'll need is a really good cast iron skillet. It's the best thing to cook over a fire with. So we have some bacon in here. We're going to go ahead and get that started, so I'll go ahead and set that on here. Mr. Addy's got the fire ready for us. We've got some good hot coals underneath there, which is what you really need. You want to have a lower flame with some good hot coals when you're cooking food. When we do campfire breakfast, we usually do bacon or sausage in our skillet, and then we cook it all, get it all done, and then we move it off to the side, and then we add and cook some eggs. And one of the tricks we've learned over the years with to do good scrambled eggs when you're cooking is we mix it up before we leave with our eggs and milk, and we put it in a container like a Nalgene bottle. Works really well. It stays cold in your cooler or your fridge, whatever you have. So it's already mixed up, and it makes it easy to dump in and cook. So that's what we're gonna do, and once that's all done, we're gonna make breakfast burritos out of that with some tortillas and cheese, and that's really about it. And don't forget, a good campfire breakfast always needs a good hot cup of coffee. So we hope everyone has a great time this evening and does something fun with their campfire setup or whatever it is you do, and we'll talk to you soon.